Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Couple of Nukes. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Whiskey, and as you can tell by the background, and for those of you who follow my show, you know I'm still on vacation, a stresscation as I call it, because I'm a workaholic, and I have been nothing but stressed on this vacation. I'm back in Virginia, where I was stationed in military, so a lot of bad memories. The traffic is the worst in the world. The architecture of the roads in Virginia is just awful. It's decent out. It's decent out today, but it's been freezing cold most of my stay here. So not a good time, but I had the pleasure of, through the OWL app, use my referral code whiskey in the link below. I met an amazing woman who now can actually record with someone live. Enough of all this Zoom stuff. You know, it's great to actually be in person with someone. Wonderful. My first time, other than Ms. Whitney, co-host of the Davy Jones Locker series, but she lives with me, so it's kind of like it's easy to record in person. But yeah, we've got a beautiful background, a waterfront that is going to have some great events at it, but that's just a little tease for later. So without further ado, Ms. Mary Fernandez, what can you tell us about yourself other than speaker, life coach, podcaster, mother, wife? You love helping the community, and so we're here to talk about leadership and community, getting involved and creating events for the community, which you've done and you're going to continue to do as long as you can. Yes. So I'm going to pass it over to you. Tell us all about that.
Wow, it's such a pleasure to be here. You know, anytime I see someone doing something, I believe in them almost immediately. So when we connected, it was a yes automatically. Because yes, I believe in dreams, I believe in goals and action takers. But when you said something about talking about leadership, you know, I look back over my life and I see some of the situations I have been in, right, some of the situations you have been in, and some of the situations of college students fresh out the gate, new job seekers. They've had some pretty interesting experiences that could have taken them out of their good attitude or their good intentions for a great future without all that struggle. But they championed the situation. But why not talk about leadership? Antiquated styles. What is the mission of the leader, the organization? Are people invested in the business and the people? Are we interested in keeping up with how to get the most out of the team and have that proper relationship between leadership and followers or team players? How do you balance that out without killing dreams and stifling giants? So I'm all about leadership.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, two things I want to address that you brought up, and kind of the last thing, you know, a lot of companies will say we're a family. You know, we're family. You got to balance that, right? Because you can't be too forgiving. You can't be, well, you know, the rules don't apply here or there, right? You still have a business to run. But what you said beforehand about people fresh out of college, or even, you know, our younger folks, the high schoolers, you know, you don't realize, a lot of leaders don't realize that when it comes to a person's first job, you're that person's introduction to what the working world is like, and you can completely change. You said that good attitude. You can be what changes their work ethic for the worse. You know, I met plenty of people. They're like, well, why don't you work? Why don't you want to work? Why don't you want to be a part of this company? Well, the last company I was at, you know, they didn't care about us, so I don't care about the working world. And in fact, you know, it's happened even to me, because in the military I had a lot of toxic chains of commands where they didn't care about you. They weren't invested in your growth. They weren't invested in you. You know, you were just property, just an asset. And so when I got into the civilian world and I was working at the chemical plant, one, it was also the same exact structure, the same work style, and the same kind of toxic habits. But on another level, it was like, they're like, why don't you want to work overtime? Why don't you want to do this and that, put in extra effort? And it's like, because I did all of that and I got nothing, you know? And so I understand it, you know, as a young adult, how that really affects us, how a leader's attitude changes things. Because I had a leader in the military who was great. He made me work harder. I worked extra hours because, you know, he was just inspiring. He was enthusiastic. He cared about us. He cared about our personal lives. You know, he was like a father. And, you know, especially my generation, where we all have divorced parents or no father or mother, you know, it's important as a leader, as a mentor, to play an example, you know, a role in their life to help guide them, because they don't have guidance.
So true.
And it's interesting, like I said bringing up my generation, you know, I'm also the co-founder and co-host of Generational Bridge Builders with Stephen Barrow. Shout out to him, great guy. You know, he's kind of like that father figure. He's more of the bad uncle in my life, you know. He's more of a bad uncle, but since I don't have a father, he's a good substitute. And, you know, we talk about the generational gap. And one of the things we address frequently is the attitude toward work. We talked recently about ghosting, like how a lot of young people just quit without notice or just don't show up to interviews, and how the world has changed so much. So Ms. Mary, as you've been in the working world, what are some big changes you've seen? And, you know, some of the people you've mentored, it's just like, wow, this is so different from when I was growing up and when I was working in the world.
Definitely. Now, help me stay on track.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember many years ago when I was an aspiring first-time job seeker, and I was old enough to go out and search for interesting avenues to follow. I know my father gave me good advice. Look for a job with benefits.
Yes, ma'am.
So that you can fall in love with that job and give your best and not have to worry about little things like that. And I was in the elevator of the city hall of one of our neighboring cities. And I had gone into an office, got the information I needed, came back and was making notes. And a gentleman in a nice suit, businessman, said to me, conscientious.
Okay.
So he noticed me, he saw me, and he was aware of the fact that I am very interested in getting a great job, or whatever I just left must have been that interesting that I took notes. So inspiring words from well-meaners. In the old high schools, we were groomed to get ready for the professional world.
Right.
We were groomed to get ready for the career of your dream with disciplines like showing up, dressing up, stick-to-itness, believe in yourself, bounce-back ability. Just get ready for that world. And the organizations in the school framed us just right because there were rules of engagement for the different organizations that I think with the problems in school now, they're distracted from the power of great organizations to teach things like structure, discipline, protocol, command rank, you know, like who's in charge, respect that person. So a lot of that is gone. Now, working with one of my first jobs, the incentives made it so that you wanted to strive for promotional opportunities. And the structures were written down so that you knew what you had to do, the opportunities for posting jobs were there. You could do extra school work, the job provided educational benefits, all kind of things to invest in yourself because we want to invest in you. We felt that. But as time has gone on and I've seen different bosses of different styles, it looks like there's a great divide between who's working on the team and who's coming on board and how valuable they are and what they're bringing, and the I am important, I am the boss. Okay, now what we gonna do? Now what? That eager, enthusiastic desire to work and be a part of the team and find out the promotional framework and get appreciated for what you do and get guided for what you need to do. All of that seemed to have watered down with this state of importance. And almost like the leadership teams are not being trained on how to work with people, much less how to develop themselves to become great leaders. So the gap is getting wider and wider. And now I'm even I see great organizations. I do see great organizations. Of course. But I do see a lot of lacking in a lot of leaders. Now I love my city, and I love how my 5 cities work together.
Right.
However, I know they have so many things on the plate. But let's talk about these big companies.
Right.
Big companies that have the power to influence the next generation and the world. If they invest in those individuals, help them grow as individuals, as well as master the skills of their job, and give them tips on how to improve where they lack and applaud them where they are doing well, they have the power to change the world. But I've seen a lot of bad outcomes from those situations.
Right.
Dare I elaborate?
Well, I'll say there's a lot of that where it's people aren't caring about legacy. It's a very selfish world. And it's like, all right, I just whatever I got to do for this company, I don't care about the person who comes after me. And I believe I discussed it with you in the military I had, and I've shared this story so many times on the show. If you're a frequent listener, I apologize. But every time I bring this up because I had a leader who I came to him and I said, hey, boss man, you know, we're working a 24-hour military duty day, like every other day, port and starboard, sometimes every 3 days. You work 24 hours, then straight into 9 hours, then you're off, catch up on all your errands, gotta call mom so she doesn't freak out, you know, like a good mother. Like a good mother. Yeah. And then, you know, whatever else you gotta do. And then it's the next 24-hour day back. So, and I said, hey, you know, boss man, we've got, you know, this amount of people, X, Y, Z, we've got, here's how we can arrange things. So we do this every 6 days or every 8 days, like all the other, you know, divisions in the ship are doing. His response, I don't care. You don't have it worse than I did. If you had it worse than I did, maybe I would feel bad. But I don't care. I had to watch paint dry when I was in your position. I had to watch paint dry. I really don't care what you had to do. It's about us. Woo! It's about, and you know, if we're not happy and we all leave, guess what? You're getting called back in to fill our spot. Or you had to stay longer. They pressure you to stay in. You know, it's really about, and you know, they always say, stay in and be the change you want to see. But we are so discouraged because we see our leaders saying, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. I didn't stay in, you know, for this long because I couldn't do anything, or I'm not going to stay in because of this. Now, what I want to ask you, Ms. Mary, is you said, and I want to see if I'm understanding this correct. Okay. It almost sounded like you're saying schools are training us how to get the job, but not how to perform well at doing the job, at, you know, staying at the job. They're saying, you know, here's how you get the interview. You dress right, you're on time, you take notes, you sit up straight, all this stuff, right? All this fluff, I want to call it. It's important. Don't get me wrong. Like, please do this. Don't show up looking stupid. But it's not like, from there, it's not like, now here's what you do. And I also, on some way, they kind of encourage you too much. They set you up like you're saying eager, like, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? Which is great. One of the best, you know, pieces of advice I was ever given was this guy said, hey, here's some leadership advice for when you get out of the military. Say, all right, what is expected of me of the first 90 days? What is something you're facing on a big level in the company that's an issue? And is there anything I can do as I start here that can help that in any way? And I think it's great to have that mentality of wanting to help, but I feel a lot of leaders aren't receptive to that. They're like, oh, you can't do anything, or it doesn't matter. They're just so self-centered and stressed. And, you know, you're talking about big companies and small companies. And, you know, it is true that they affect each other too, because they'll be like, well, if this company is doing it and they're such a big famous company and they're making money, then I can do it. And it might be something bad. It might be not treating their employees right. So I'll let you elaborate on that. Okay.
First of all, when I was making reference to the schools, that was when I was in school.
Right.
And I'm up there with past the 50 mark.
I was going to say, you don't look a day over 29.
Past the 60 mark. A little further up there, closer to the 80 mark than I am to the 70, 60 mark. So, what's going on in schools right now is foreign to me. I have not had a high school student in a while, even on the elementary level and primary level. All those things are kind of different. Those structures are so different and foreign to me now. But I did get to see the college level more recent than college students, more recent than the early level.
Right.
I know there are a lot of good programs out there.
For sure.
I just do not see the not being in there, but working with entrepreneurs and startups, and then seeing young people do things like get recruited. Headhunters come looking for them.
Right.
This is one that's etched in my mind forever. Headhunters come looking for the potential great next generation of employee. The student has the fresh off the press skills to do the job well, master skills. Maybe they don't have all the people development skills, but they have the skills enough to do the professional interview and impress you to get that job.
Right.
They have their personalities, which may not be like every other person on the line or every other person in the plant, but do you have a structure in place as a boss, as an employee, as a company to embrace and celebrate the different personalities, the different way people communicate, and the different ways they learn and like to be recognized or not be recognized?
Everyone's
different.
different.
Investing in their people. So that's key. Then they ask you to move come move and leave your home and set up everything and come to this town and work for us. Get an apartment. You do all that investing. You make all that travel in and out of town to get that new job in the new location. Then you get in there and you make a technical mistake, a little mistake that I believe could have been caught at step one by a supervisor, at least checking the work of a brand new employee for at least 3 months, 6 months, 1 month. But no, they don't do the training. They don't live up to
the wolves.
Don't live up to the promise of, we are family. We want you here. We're going to look out for you. They threw them right to the job. High level quality work, but one little mistake that wasn't explained nor caught. Oh, that cost us so much money. So we're going to have to dump you into this city where you know no one, have no family, have just got this apartment and this new job, and you're just going to have to go make it on your own while we clean up this mess. 6 little items they got to clean up. But they didn't invest in training that new employee, acclimating that new employee to their company. Having that supervisor on hand that could have caught that mistake at number 2 or number 3. Just threw them to the wolves, per se. Now, how many people would like that experience of being thrown to the wolves? Then you created a homeless person in a new town, in a new city, with a new apartment. You just created a homeless person who was top of their field, where they came from, but now in your field, they don't fit in anymore. You know, you did all that romance, and then you got them, and then you dump them.
And the biggest thing I'm seeing nowadays is, I had bought a drink for this woman at a bar who was playing guitar. Kind of find out she has a full psychology degree. She just can't get hired. And this is common everywhere. And even when I've been job hunting, which now I'm the founder of my own company, so done with those days.
Congratulations.
Hopefully, I may job hunt in the future. You know, God willing, I don't. But you know, it's all years and years of experience, and it's always this. And this has been going on well before my time, is they want all this experience, but no one's willing to take a chance on you to get that experience, you know? And it's like this endless cycle. And even degrees now are becoming so worthless. Even though college is more expensive and more difficult and has more programs, the degree is worth less. Worthless and worthless, you know, wordplay there.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to see more kind of trade school-ish kind of things where you actually learn a skill for this, right? Especially in the digital age. There's no you go to college for all this computer engineering, computer science, programming. There should be a trade school where you actually learn specifically that technological skill to use. Because even the classes I'm taking, or that I've seen other people take in college to get the degree, it's cool, we memorize this stuff to get this class just a high enough score so we can get the degree. But we don't actually know how to use any of the stuff that the company's going to have us use. Or, you know, and the biggest thing is the work experience. It's how are you supposed to get it? It says 8+ years in accounting and taxing. So unless you have a family or a connection to get hired, someone takes a chance on you. You know, I think companies need to be more receptive, but they're so, I don't want to lose any money, I don't want to lose any time mentality that, you know, they're not, like you said, even training the people they have. It's they just throw you to the woods.
So the negative report the student researched on the internet about, well, they don't train you, they don't this, they don't that, came true. And that prime newly hired found out all of that was true, and because of lack of training and supervisor, became one of the homeless in that city, because they moved there because they were sought after by the headhunter. But I wanted to put a positive and a reality spin on it as well.
All right.
Okay, trade schools were very popular, and I like to study and research what's going on in the world around me. And I was doing an event in one of the 5 cities, because our 5 cities seem to work really well together in the areas that they need to. How can we collaborate as a 5-city area, but then what can we separate and do on our own? Because my city needs this, my city, and so they pay attention to their cities and what they need. But I was just in one of the 5 cities, and there was this new trade school. I said, oh my God, a trade school. How many people know of this? I don't know of it. And I live here. I said, that's wonderful. What can I do to get you on my podcast? Okay. So getting to that individual that I met, getting past that phone is a big, it's a big issue.
Right.
So I would want the world to know about them. That's what my podcast is about, getting the spotlight on everyday heroes and leaving a legacy and making an impact. Now, the other thing I hope I can stay on point about, there are a lot of new programs that are popping up to train and educate students. But then there's so many new things happening so fast that the marketplace isn't trained on how to prepare for it. Such as when you work for a new job now, communication skills mean something totally different. Yeah. Your assignment means something different. The assignment for the job you have actually means whatever project or direction this company decides to go, this is the skill base I need you to have, and be able to get the education on it, or work on this or work on that, so that you can show up and do that element of the job. So explanations of what is expected have really changed, but maybe leadership or the team have a broken communication where the the old leadership does not know how to integrate the new way of the world and use the talent of this amazing generation that were born in a tech world and can, at 5 years old, help grandma with her computer.
Yes,
or
ma'am.
at 10 years old, tell you, like my children told me, they told us, you need a computer. Telling us as parents, you need a computer. It is the way of the world. If you don't learn it now, you will be behind the time. These were children telling me, help me get my first phone, help me set up my first computer, and help us do this and do that. They had books like this because they love technology so much, where you can go in there and find, this code means this. So my husband and the children would go in there and fix it. That kind of talent should not be squashed. Degrees not being used or used. College, I've always loved the idea of going to college, learning, eating up what's on the table. I've always liked the idea, and I heard our governor say at one time, our former governor say that I believe in the children getting a job and a trade so they can feed themselves, clothe themselves while they're learning to get the degree that they want. So where are other trade schools? I don't know. What's the disconnect? Because there's so much good out here, but there's still so much confusion. Then there's so much disparity and sadness and depression. Depression is just coming to the forefront. Depression in what is it, anxiety, COVID, all these things that have happened to people are coming to the surface like bubbled up during COVID. And now they got to learn to talk and be with people in person. First in-person interview in a while, right?
And some people grew up thinking like, we've always had masks. We've always done everything online. Like my youngest sister, her first 2 years of high school were online. Like that's insane. And we've talked all the time on the show about how does that affect our children, having that, there was like toddlers with masks on, like that's insane. And something too, you're talking about so many skilled, young people, there's so much competition too. It's a very competitive job field now more than ever, because you have the population itself is just massive. And there's so much self-education, online degree programs, all this flexible online college. It's like, it's not just the rich kids or the scholarships, from smart people. It's like anyone. And I don't want to say anyone can go to college. I know there's still a lot of obstacles out there. But the amount of people getting higher education is so much larger than it was.
True. This is an amazing generation. I love the way you put it, where people were born into mass and don't know a world without it. Our world is going through a dramatic change right now. There is a mighty force of good moving equally as strong as the force to disrupt everything. So we must show up, speak up, do something, or say something. But how do you do that unless you're an entrepreneur like yourself? And where do you go get the people who have lost their fire and their dream and their passion for wanting to take their gifting into the marketplace? I believe entrepreneurship is a surefire way. But you and I were both in Florida at the same time. We didn't get to see each other, y'all. We didn't even know each other then, but we found each other. We found the OWL group.
Yes,
and we got to talk with the OWL people, but we connected because we found them.
Yes, ma'am.
But one of the things was we went there, we saw this massive talent of people, of like-minded
Amazing.
like-minded dreams and goals, which was, okay, I got a voice, I got a platform. I know in my beginning years of my podcast, I was in 10 countries and not even showing up like I should, not even having my systems and everything in place. But I believe, don't wait to get it all fixed up and pretty. Just go for it.
Start ugly.
Well,
Chris, hey, founder of Podfest.
And so, oh my God, Chris and the founder Hill, they are her geniuses,
right?
Who took an app or who took an idea and then they put an umbrella over all of us. They have broke Guinness Books of Records,
right?
Because you were there, you've been vetted. VET, meaning he's been approved. He's been approved. He's someone I can reach out to. Right. All those people in that hotel, we felt protected.
Everyone was so friendly. Everyone came up. What's your podcast? What's your mission? How can we help? Let me connect you with XYZ ABC. It wasn't competition.
No competition.
I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like, all right, anyone who's military, like, get away from me. You're my competition. It wasn't. It was like, hey, brother, here's every guest I've had. If you want to reach out to them, let me come on your show. You come on my show.
Woo.
Let's do some fundraisers together, projects. And,
yes.
You're talking about ways of getting a message out there and working with people. Talking about podcasts and entrepreneurship. How about a walkathon? Woo! That's a great way to raise some awareness.
Oh my God.
I'm more of a 5K guy because I'm still young and I like to run and feel good and get a participation trophy. But a walkathon is great too, and I'd love to hear about maybe you happen to have one coming up here soon.
Absolutely. I have Walkathon 2024 and Women's Expo on this waterfront right here in the city of Portsmouth. This is the go the distance. We're at our beautiful hotel, #1 hotel in our city. And you walk down that way and you end up at the Pavilion Park and the Festival Park. That's where we actually start. I wanted to do an event like that as a gratitude and thank you event to pull people out to walk for a cause. Let's get under an umbrella where we all can just thank goodness for life, health, and strength, and the ability to get up another day.
Right.
The two causes are stopping domestic violence and bringing more conversation around it. And then the second one is curing cancer in our lifetime. In the workplace, whether we're entrepreneurs or not, in my entrepreneur workplace, I have found so many clients that have experienced one or both of those issues. The military side of it, the nightmare and the horrors of their stories made me want to help, because I know I was in the bed with abdominal issues in 2020, and then we were confined to home, so I was basically bedridden, waiting for surgery that had to be canceled. And now all of a sudden, all the little bad things that have happened between there and now made me just want to wake up one day and say, thank you, God, for another day where I can still just put those bad happenings aside and go at life and celebrate and bring as many people as I want with me. I have the author of Dating Shouldn't Hurt. This man has a book that should be read by everyone. He's one of my speakers, and he has 10,000 short of 1 million downloads, telling his story about his daughter. Wow. Have you ever heard of love bombing?
I have.
Have you heard of flying monkeys?
Not the second one. The first one my dad did to my mom, because I did grow up in a emotional domestic violence household, and there was sexual abuse and a lot of emotional and verbal abuse, and so I am familiar with some of the terms. The second one, not as much.
Okay, he educated me, and I did a 4-part interview that will debut on the first episode, part 1 will debut on YouTube on Tuesday of next week. And just to hear that intro, part 1, you want every child, every school, every teacher, every minister, every law enforcement person, as he would say, to hear that, because that's what our children, mothers, daughters are dealing with. So that's us looking out for each other in that envelope of like that safe place we were in when we were at Podfest. But then curing cancer. One of my champions is Nick Klingensmith, and I give all of them their recognition because they said yes to me when it came to I want to showcase you. I want to put you in the spotlight. 4-time cancer survivor, type 1 diabetic.
4 times.
recovering alcoholic, and I warn people before they listen to his episode that he says he's known for a bad attitude, but he was fighting cancer for his life. And 24 was the first time he experienced cancer. He's won 100 medals since, running and traveling the world competing. Next is Chela Diaz, and I know you know Chela.
I do.
See, we know each other's
her.
friends because we are under that same podcast umbrella.
Well, and Stephen Barrow, you know, on our first episode of Generational Bridge Builders, he talked about how he had cancer as a child, a terminal cancer, and America had not approved yet the cure for it, that for his specific kind. They sentenced him to death, and he fled the country and had to go get surgery. They actually arrested and took away the guy who saved his life. Wow. It's an amazing story.
Wow.
It really is.
So those are stories out there. And then there was Gina. Gina is our wellness speaker. So now what I'm looking for is for friends and family, people that don't know me, but people who come under the same sincere umbrella of wanting to make a difference, to show up and walk. The link to registering will be on his site, y'all. You need to register preferably before the end of this month. Let 100 or 500 of us show up and walk for a cause. And we're going to make it fun for you. And we're going to, treat you right. So that is one of the things I'm doing under my umbrella instead of being president of this association or president of that group or project developer for that group. I wanted to do it under my name as an individual citizen to encourage others. Do something. Live your dream. Take your gifting. And those dreamers that have had their dreams squashed like you did when you went in the military, and I'm so sorry you had that experience. I want them to come alive and look, you have 2 legs and some don't. You don't have 8. You're trying to figure out how to walk with 8. Find something to be thankful for, and find the thing that makes you happy and brings you joy. This is a new world we're living in, and it may be rough now, but bad times do not always last, and joy does come in the morning. And you say, what morning? When is that morning coming? It's coming. Just stay around to see it. Keep making yourself better every day. Just don't give in and succumb, because what you succumb to succumbs you. What you hope for and you reach up for, it comes to you. You may not see it, but it's coming. I'm walking. I wasn't walking in 2019 and 2020. I was trying to walk. And I don't have my cane with me because I was trying to recover. And when you're bedridden, then you lose your health and strength, and then you got to rebuild those weak muscles. So let's find a reason to come together. I mean, it was so neat, that we got together. We were in Florida and just didn't see each other, but we felt the same love and appreciation. They made us feel good, didn't they? They made us feel important, and they took care of us. And let me give you one more. PJ D'Annunzio. He was one of the speakers. Did you go to his book signing?
No, I did not. There were so many things. I was all over the place my first year, so I was going here, and there. And speaking of speakers, you might catch me speaking there next year. I applied, so hopefully. Oh my God, you did! Courageous. You can catch me speaking at the AI Masterclass Virtual Podfest, though. I will be teaching some things. So. Oh my God, I'm so happy for you. Shameless plug. Oh no, that's not a shameless plug. We want to know because as soon as we met, I started following his podcast. That's what you do when you meet someone. You support them by following their podcast. If you download their podcast, if you like them or you want to know more, do follow and commented on my video premiere. Subscribe. And those things help the entrepreneur. So we're on a mission at Podcasters. Mine is Leadership, Legacies, and Legends Unleash. That's the title of my podcast. It was a war cry for women because there are so many people, particularly women, who were trying to get the pieces of the puzzle together to start a business, launch a business, get this financing, get this funding. Where are the grants? Are there grants? I know so much now, it's just ridiculous. I know so much. And I didn't want to take it with me because, see, I was in my bed trying to get my health back. And I didn't want to take all that information with me. And when I was in the hospital in ICU, and the doctors would come in every day and tell me the truth. That's our beautiful fairy. The doctors would come in and tell you the truth. We got to get the infection down. We got to get the temperature down and the inflammation. If we
go to surgery like this. There's a chance you won't come out. They had to tell the truth. We were on a team. So they were telling me what I had to do.
Right.
Drink, move through the pain, get up, do everything they said do. And I was totally in my God's hands because there was nothing I could do but follow the hands of those beautiful doctors that will come into there with those, I mean, in ICU, you think you're going to get some sleep. Every time you go to sleep, there's another team. There's another team trying to save your life.
You know what? And what I want to focus on and say here is to keep fighting. You know, there's so many people who get a bad diagnosis, you know, medical, physical, whatever it is, and they just give up, you know. And, you know, Russell Roberts, the youngest flight instructor in America, came on my show recently, and we had a great interview. And one of the biggest takeaways from that was, you know, a lot of people confuse not the right time with failure. They gave up before it was their time. You know, people, and especially the younger generation want everything like this, instant gratification. Sometimes it's not your time. You know, like he wanted to be a pilot. The youngest flight instructor in America, became a great pilot, an amazing guy, very successful. Growing up, he wore glasses. And at the time when he was growing up, you could not be a pilot with glasses. Instead of giving up, he trained like that wouldn't matter. And there came a time where they took away that.
Right.
They took away that. They said, we need pilots desperately.
Right.
If you can't see perfectly, if you wear glasses, you're allowed now. But people like his father, people I've known in real life, you know, who get sick or there's some kind of obstacle, just give up. And I've seen it. One of the best cartoons I ever saw was this guy was digging underground, digging. He's like, I can't keep doing this. And he turned around and you can see it's a cross section. There's a giant diamond right on the other side, just a little bit of dirt.
Wow, yeah.
And that's how it is sometimes.
That is life.
That is life.
A great life
you gotta
story.
keep fighting. So, and I'm glad you fought because now you're here empowering and passing that on to others. And your spirit of gratitude is something that I also embody and I try to tell everyone to have as well. Every morning I wake up, and I'm very religious, so I pray and I say, thank you, Lord, that I woke up, that I have my health. There's people who did not wake up.
Right.
There are people who woke up and they're sick. People who woke up and they said, you know, your parents passed away. There's so much bad news out there. And so people highlight that instead of the good news. And we don't realize there's all these small blessings we have. Like you said, waking up and being able to walk without a cane even.
Yes.
You know, I'm sure you're happy.
And the pain.
You're happy.
The pain. Oh, that was a foreign level of pain. Like I was an alien on another planet experiencing something that was totally unreal. To know that there are people living with that kind of pain every day
for years.
So find something to be thankful for. When I met you and I heard your passion, your caring, I heard your faith, I heard your entrepreneurship, and as podcasters, we tend to look out for each other. If he needed me or wanted me as a guest, I'd say yes, because I want to be your guest, whatever price we had to pay, a few minutes of your day.
Right.
And our schedules are so different that we didn't get to talk until a few minutes before the interview, touch bases this morning by text. But that was good enough. Your word is good enough. It seems like we've built a culture under the leadership of our beautiful mentors. We've built a culture where we all want the same thing, success for one another and getting your message out there. What is your message? Don't give up. Don't give up. The world is a better place every day that you show up. And
you know what? And I struggle with this too because I'm small and growing. I just started my podcast recently and I'm so ambitious. I'm so far ahead of myself mentally that I self-talk down to myself. You know, you're not good enough in this. If one person's life is changed, you know, it's a domino effect, you know, but we want to save everyone. And I actually got counseled by a chief. He said, Mr. Whiskey, you know, you're so down and depressed and you're so tired and exhausted, you're never sleeping, you're always taking care of this sailor. He goes, even Superman couldn't save everyone.
Right.
Team Batman, but I understood what he was trying to say. Even Superman, who's supposed to be the ideal perfect man, couldn't save everyone. He goes, there's just too much out there, but the more you do, the more that's going to be affected. There's a ripple effect.
Yes.
And the last thing I want to say before I let you wrap it up here for us is the gratitude and the the fighting spirit go hand in hand. When you are grateful, it is so much easier to keep fighting and to have that optimism. You need to keep that. And I talked about it on the show many times, a negative mindset versus a positive mindset. And we live in a world where the negative mindset is the normal. It's so easy to maintain. Go out there and keep that positive mindset. And I'll tell you, waking up and being grateful starts the day off so much better. If you wake up and you're like, I don't want to go to work today, I don't want to be here. You know what? There are people who woke up and they still don't have a job and they need a job, you know? So, and I could give you example after example. Just think about your life. Don't ever compare your work to others, but think in comparison what others don't have that you have, just to help yourself if you're struggling with that. But Ms. Mary, I want you to wrap things up here with, you've already given us some great advice, you know, so if you want to sum it up in a cute bow or anything else you'd like to add.
Okay, my mission is connecting people, services, and opportunities. And I believe that business and personal development go hand in hand. Because if you're really good at one and not good at the other, you're kind of like walking with one leg shorter than the other, and you're wondering why your hip hurt and your back hurt and things are going like this and are not going like that. I totally agree about waking up expecting good. The good is you have a roof over your head. You have the ability to get up and go get a glass of water. Some cannot. The world is so in change, such a massive change a wheel right now, that you make a difference when you bring your positive to this change wheel. Know that it's going to come back around. The big old days of joy overflowing, opportunities, your skills in demand, podcasters in demand. Even look at TV. TV is changing. This is the new TV of tomorrow.
It is.
This is
YouTube
the new TV
and TikTok and
tomorrow.
all of that. Yeah.
And you have those skills as a parent, adult, or young adult. You have those skills. You are the key to the future. All you need is a phone. When I do my little thing, they said, how do you run your business? I said, with a microphone, a camera, and a computer.
And a winning personality.
It's been a pleasure. I thank you for inviting me.
Yes, ma'am.
And we made time to get together. And you were in town for a short period of time. We made time to get together because your goals are important. My goals are important. Corporate America, you're important, but so are your employees. And until that marriage, get it together.
Yes, ma'am. And you talk about us making time for each other. You know, put on events for your community and go to your community events, especially you younger generation out there, because I know y'all say it's cringe, it's boring, you know, what's the point, it's only the old people. Go and make connections. I love going to those events because you'll meet people who will change the course of your life. I've gone to events like that I didn't want to go to, and then I go and I meet people who have excelled my business or my personal growth or been friends that I still talk to now. You never know who you're gonna meet, and you won't meet them without going. So whether it's a walk-a-thon or a Christmas party or whatever it is, look at the calendar or the website for your town. Whatever town it is, even if it's a small town, there's something going on. And if there's not, make something. So that's just what I want to end with. Ms. Mary, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. And I won't make it this year, but I'm sure you'll do more walkathons in the future, and I will show up and I will walk.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.